Welcome back. I'm Alfred Lambermont Weber, and we're very honored today to be with the founder of the European Coalition Against Covert Harassment, Magnus Olsson, coming to us from Sweden. Welcome, Magnus.
Thank you a lot, Alfred.
Now, you were a close colleague and friend to the member of the board of directors of EUCACH, Rauni Kilde, who recently passed over on the 8th of February 2015 under what even your colleague, the other member of the board in his article on whitetv.se would designate as suspicious circumstances, where he says Dr. Rauni Kilde dead, probably murdered. And your colleague Henning Witte, who's an attorney, speaks in no uncertain terms. So I want to, I'm very glad that you've come here to speak to us, Magnus, first about Rauni's work, and then
Yeah.
into whatever you can clarify about her death and her legacy.
Yes. Rauni Kilde's death is a major blow to us. She was attending a conference that we arranged together with Stopeg and EUCACH in Brussels in November, and she was very fit and very, very glad and happy, and we didn't have any suspicions at all that she was having a bad health, not at all. And what Rauni did that nobody else actually had been able to do is to bring up the subject on a military medicine congress, the year 2000. And this military medicine congress, the topic was named as neuroelectromagnetic telecommunication and cybernetics. This was a international military medicine conference, and what did she actually mean with this? Well, this was about behavior modification already at the year 2000. And behavior modification is one of the goals with this technology. And what they can do, and what she actually was writing in this memo was that, I mean, what they can do with the technology that is mastered by satellites and HARP systems and so on and so on. But anyway, you can change and alter the mental processes and emotions remotely with the help of super quant-inspired computers. And actually, this is the most important part, because she was mentioning on this memo that I have that microchips that you could easily insert into the brain through the nostril or the neck were actually given out for free to scientists. And this was quite surprising. Already 2000, they were giving away to scientists microchips to actually be able to monitor and do research on people against their will and knowledge. And
Right.
what they called this at that time was silent sound technology, and it's clearly coming out that this is operating very successfully. So what she said with her work is that this technology is more dangerous than the atom bomb. And as she was a writer as well, she wrote a couple of books, and one of the books that the name of that book is Bright Light on Dark Shadows. That one is at the publisher right now. We're trying to save this book because before she died, I spoke with her just a couple of days before she died, and she said, "You don't have to worry about me. There is no death." And that is something that she also was writing about, that we are energies. We are, our bodies is just a functional part of it, but the brain and the energy, and she was used to say that if you take any part of the body and blow it up under a microscope, an atomic microscope, you can see that the tissue is vibrating. There is energy in our bodies, and very few people know about this actually.
Right. Right. Now you mentioned her book, um, and a number of people have been asking about that publicly, whether perhaps if she was murdered, and the other member of the board, Henning Witte, appears to believe that she was, that perhaps this book may have been one of the reasons. Have you had an occasion to read the book, or do you know where a copy of the manuscript could be obtained?
As I told you, we're trying to save the book. We are connected to people who claim that they have the book. Yes,
Uh,
if we do this successfully, the book will come out as soon as we can do so. But the death of Rauni Kilde is, I mean, she was a pioneer. She was one of the strongest propagator for actually stopping the misuse of this kind of dangerous technologies against people's free will. Actually, I think she said by herself that this book will reveal it all and it will become a bestseller.
huh. So, well, we all anxiously look forward to the publication of that book, and if UCACH could make public bulletins from time to time on the status of that book, those I'm sure would be very much appreciated by the public.
Yes, we will do our best.
Now, another aspect of Raoni, I of course had the privilege of interacting with her, um, because I uh, was honored to speak at one of your conferences and to help draft the the legislation that is now being introduced into the European Parliament, which Rowney had a great hand in drafting that, and that is to ban all of these uh, uh, all of these new physics weapons, all of the torture weapons, the implant weapons, the neural remote control weapons that that you and she and all of us actually have been fighting to stop for many, many years. I know that I became involved in this fight after 1978 when I was hit with directed energy weapons at the E ring, the innermost ring of the Pentagon, while meeting with an assistant secretary of defense in the Carter administration while I was director of the Carter White House extraterrestrial communication study, so that these are even used on people who are going on official business within the government. I just wanted to share that with you at this moment. But with regard to Rauni, I'm looking here at an interview that she and I did on her book. It's entitled There Is No Death. We Are Not Alone in the Universe. God is Love. And it's so extraordinary to have in one person a being who was, I believe, the chief health officer of Finland, was it?
Yes,
Yes,
yes.
yes,
For-
and also probably one of the more advanced uh, uh, persons who knew how to describe and how to stop, and in the public interest, made public all of the issues of what we've come to call the transhumanist agenda, or this attempt to robotize humans. And in addition to that, she had a great cosmic vision. Uh,
yeah.
Rauni Kilde, MD. There is no death. We are not alone in the universe. God is love. And this was just an extraordinary. Uh, uh, this is an extraordinary being because she says there is no death. So she's in an adjacent, another dimension. But she was a very advanced being who chose to experience all of these different uh, ex- experiences. And I feel very privileged to have come into contact not only with EUCACH, but with Rauni Kilde, and to have experienced all of that.
Yeah. I have to mention this because she actually sent an email telling about that she was very strongly and hard radiated for 4 days, and this could actually uh, I mean, the cancer that you can develop and you can have it in your body for many years before it actually happens anything. And how this happened, her death is there is a lot of questions here, but the radiation for 4 days. After that, she could not almost stand up during these 4 days. So I would say that this could have caused her death. But we are trying to do as much as we can to clarify this.
Now, when you say she was radiated for 4 days, do you mean that that was a an external and remote source of radiation?
Yes, yes,
Uh-huh. And was there an autopsy done on her body at all, or?
yes. I will go on with this later on in another interview
Oh,
maybe,
good.
because we are still working on finding out what actually happened here.
Okay.
But don't forget, she was connected online for around 25 years, and I mean, a child could understand that that's not good for the health to be online with these technologies, and the scalar weaponry is I mean, it doesn't leave any trace, so it's very difficult to prove anything.
Yeah, no, no, right. But uh, uh, just from a kind of a common sense point of view, if she was radiated for 4 days, and you have reports that took a lot out of her, perhaps that was an assassination weapon, just enough of a threshold. They know that it'll take about 4 days, and they give her just enough of a threshold so it's barely detectable, and
Yeah,
then it takes 4 days to assassinate her. I mean,
yeah,
this is the mode of these weapons is stealth.
yeah,
So one has to judge it. One of its criteria is stealth, so that we know that it's stealth. Now, in my judgment, the fact that you can even tell that she was radiated for 4 days means that they still don't have the technology perfected, because we can still tell that she's been radiated for 4 days. So I believe that she was not only murdered, but she was assassinated, and the difference in legal and political terms is that when somebody is assassinated, it's by a state or for a political reason, by a group which is seeking political for reasons of state. So
yeah.
this, I believe, is part of the war, which in interviews that I've conducted with EUCACH and with another EUCACH member, uh, Melanie Vrichan of your Brussels office, we concluded that it was the technology of the NSA, and that the NSA uh, uh, and through contractual arrangements that it may have with the various countries in which people find themselves, but that in essence, the main agency that is rolling this out, the transhumanist agenda, is the NSA. So in that case, you can say that Dr. Kilde was irradiated, therefore assassinated by the NSA, and that means that she was assassinated by the United States of America or the United States corporation. So that's an act of war. That's a violation of the Geneva Conventions, which is a killing of civilians, uh, uh, and it's a violation of criminal laws of various countries. So that's what's at stake here. Now, I would say that UCAT should go forward on the basis of that perspective of advocacy law, rather than on the basis of uh, uh, over conservative, because anybody, anyone looking at this would say that that 4 day irradiation was most probably an assassination burst. Therefore, legally, one can conclude various things, and on the basis of what we've uh, done in our interviews with other UCACH officers, NSA is behind this. NSA assassinated Dr. Kilde, and that would be my working hypothesis.
Yeah,
What what comment do you have on that whole scenario?
well, I'm just preparing a couple of shows called Mind Matrix, and we will have some whistleblowers. NSA is of course included there. We will also have some people from the CIA and the Department of Defense and so on. So of course, what you just told me is what this is all about. I mean, these technologies are used by the most advanced it's the most advanced technologies man have seen, and I mean, the perfection of the weaponry is coming up now. This has been going on since the 50s actually, and I am gonna do a interview with a CIA doctor actually, Robert Duncan, and he was very sad to hear that Rauni died in such a manner, because it's actually quite obvious that she was killed. She was not dying a normal natural death. No, she was not.
Yeah. Now, have you been successful, for example, in getting the interest of RT or Press TV or any of the media in covering this as a suspicious death?
Well, I have some contacts, and we are working on it right now. And the point is that, I mean, Russia Today made a interview with me for a couple of I think it was 2 years ago or something.
Right.
And I still have the contact there. So yes, we are in contact with RT and so on.
Yeah, because this is the potential assassination of a former government official of Finland,
Yeah,
who is now a board of directors of an NGO in this area, and it's plausibly by the NSA.
yeah,
And so this is a high matter. This is a high matter. This matter has to be brought to high levels of media.
yeah, yeah. We will do our best, and actually, we have 500 members in the organization
Oh,
now.
good.
We are growing, and it seems that new targeted people are coming in masses. There is a complete. I mean, what is actually happening in the world? This is going on in the whole world, not just a few countries. I'm in contact with other groups, the Chinese group, and so on, and the Japanese group, and I mean there are thousands of people that are online with this kind of technologies, and most all of them is tortured. There is a very traumatic experience, and it's actually based upon trauma mainly, as we see of our members' description of their targeting.
Right. Now, you mentioned or we were speaking previously that when Rowney first went into the hospital, could you tell they, what what happened there?
Yes, well, she was in Norway. She lived in Norway, and she had these 4 days of radiation. Then suddenly she was falling down, couldn't stand up anymore, but she could grab a telephone and call for an ambulance. And she went to a hospital, but in the ambulance, she asked for a specific hospital, but she was denied to go to that hospital. And we haven't been able to do any research why that happened, because you actually have a choice there. But she was completely ignored. And when she came to the Norwegian hospital, believe it or not, but when she checked in there, they always ask the same question: Are you allergical against anything? And yes, she said, I'm allergical against morphine. And what happened now is very, very disturbing, because they gave her two, not one shot of morphine, two shots of morphine, and she was almost she was experiencing this as a, an assassination attempt. So she called her friends and relatives and left the hospital by her own choice and own responsibility, because she said that they are trying to kill me there. And then she was flying to Finland, her home country, and what happened there is also very disturbing. But she checked into a hospital there, and she came home to a relative. And I spoke to Rauni, and she said, "Oh, you don't have to worry. I'm fine, and I will go through this without any problems. But I have stomach pains." So okay, but that's not any big thing. I mean, to have a stomach problem like that. But then when I called her 2 days later, the relatives answered and said that she's probably going to die tonight. The doctor said so. Oh, but is she conscious? Can I speak to? No, no, no. She has not been conscious for 2 days now. So and then she died that night as well. So that's the information I have got. But I think the radiation, the hard radiation, that might have been the weaponry that they used to kill her. But we are doing as much as we can as investigations, but it's not easy, and this weaponry don't leave any traces at all. So it's
Yes.
very hard to actually drive a court case or something with this weaponry, because you can't prove anything actually.
Now, how can people who would like to support UCATCH and like to support all of your efforts, I mean, not only getting to the bottom of what happened to Dr. Kilde, to Rauni, um, but all of the efforts that you're doing at for targeted individuals, TIs, that you're doing in terms of public education, that you're doing in terms of legislation at the EU and other levels, that you're doing in terms of scanning, where you scan people so that they can find out if they have implants. I mean, it's extraordinary. How can people find out more about you and become more involved and support your work?
Well, you don't have to be a targeted individual to become a member of EUCACH. Just to show your support, you can write in the targeting description that you are a supporter of the organization, and that doesn't cost anything. And we appreciate every member, because we need to be in this together to be able to stop and stop this by law.
Right, and your website is again,
EUCACH.org.
that's eucatch.org, EUCACH.org. Well,
Yes.
we certainly want to thank you, uh, Magnus, for taking time out to be with us today, and we hope that you will join us in the future uh, as events develop on this and all the other important uh, agendas that you are uh, following and carrying out.
Yeah. Thank you, Alfred. There's one thing I would like to say. I mean, if you experience things like you hear voices, you see pictures, even when you close your eyes, if you feel any kind of twitching in your body, or if you feel that, oh, my mental status is not correct, something is wrong here, because this is being done covertly. And the point is that this technology is being used upon millions in the world, but very few know that they are online. So I want to just make sure that people understand that you can be under this kind of weaponry without knowing anything at all.
Thank you, thank you, and thank you very much for being with us today, and thank you for all your work.
Thank you a lot, Alfred.